How's it? And welcome back to another episode of Cha Chat, where we have a chat over cha. My name is Sapna, and I am your host. And we are flying solo today. It's just me and our PA Ryan and our engineer Art in the studio today. But it is just me talking to y'all one to one. Um, so I've returned to therapy. So this podcast is over now. Thank you for watching. I am cured, so there's no more need for me to talk about my feelings. Just kidding. But I have returned to therapy because I'm having a quarter life crisis, sort of. Um, I've talked about before how I'm 28 years old and I don't feel 28. I often feel like I'm stuck at some younger version of myself. I look at my life and I look at the people around me and I look at people online and I feel behind. I'm working a job that doesn't pay me as much as I'd like. I live at home and I've never been in a long term relationship. So, by all means, by societal standards, I am a failure. And it's so easy for me to feel like everyone else has it all figured out. It feels like everyone else has so much drive and purpose, and I don't feel like that. And I think, why don't I feel like that? What is wrong with me? I feel like a child wearing the skin of an adult, trying to blend in, hoping that nobody will figure out that I'm a fraud. And I feel like people will look at me sometimes, will look at my social media and see, that I'm traveling or that I'm doing all these cool things or I'm spending time with friends. And they might think that I have my life together and that, oh, I wish I was like her or I envy her. And social media is such a lie. It's so easy to look at somebody online and be jealous or envious of their life because of the curated image that they put out. But you never know what is going on behind the scenes. I feel lost. I feel stuck. And it's so easy for me to feel like just because I feel lost, that must mean that I'm a failure because society tells me so, or because somebody else tells me so, or because of movies or whatever, because I'm not where I thought I would be. By 28 years old, I thought I would be somewhere else, that I would be someone else, and I'm not. And it's so hard to deal with the sort of grief for the life that you thought you would have by now. And I was reflecting on it and I thought to myself, like, wait, this is not the end of the world. I've been through so much in life and I'm here now. What if I stopped looking at life with this dread or this self disappointment or despair, and I started looking at life with this lens of curiosity and wonder? Like, wow, how amazing is it that I don't know where I'm going? What a journey. What a gift. What if I carried that curiosity with me, that childlike wonder? And I think about the Fool card in tarot. In literature, it's known as the hero's journey. You start a journey, this newborn, sort of fresh energy, this naive sense of self, right? And you go out into the world, you run into these challenges, you gain a mentor or a friend, and then you hit this low. You run into challenges that you've never faced before, right? And then you face death and transformation, this death and rebirth, and you're transformed. And then there you are again at the start of another journey. And we do this time and time and time and time again within our lives. As children, we all start at the Fool, at zero. We are these wide eyed, fresh, spontaneous, curious creatures, and we encounter the journey. we grow and we learn. We are able to have these opportunities to forgive ourselves, to forgive others, to learn from our past mistakes if we so choose. What an amazing journey. What a gift. We're not able to do all of those things without encountering these challenges, without encountering these things that make us reflect, that make us feel challenged, that make us feel like we're going through these hurdles. We only know joy because we know grief. That's what it means to be human, right? We may regret our past. We may regret who we have been. We may regret things that have happened to us, but all of these things have made us who we are, whether good or bad. But most of us, many of us, still have the time to change and to learn. It's so easy to feel too old, especially for me as somebody who's chronically ill. I often feel like time is running out and that I can't run fast enough. I can't grow fast enough. I can't succeed fast enough. And as a society, I feel like we place such pressure, especially on women, that by a certain age, you're done. It's over for you. You've aged out. Your life has already peaked. Everything from here is downhill. And as creatives as well, it's so easy to feel like, oh, I'm too old to start now. It's too late for me to change paths. It's too late for me to start. But then I think about amazing creatives who have succeeded, like Vera Wang, right? Her first bridal line wasn't until she was in her 40s. Morgan Freeman, who we all know and love, he was acting for so many years, but his big break wasn't until he was in his 50s. So there is time. It's so easy to feel like we don't have time and that we're too old. I felt too old when I was 16, when I was 21, when I was 25. But without fail, every time I look back, I think, wow, I was so young. I was talking to my brother the other day, and he's 12 years older than me. And every time I talk to somebody older than me, it's so weird because they always say the same thing that, wow, you have so much ahead of you. You have so much time. There's so much for you to do. There's so much left. I look back at younger versions of myself and I think I have something that she didn't, and that's time and experience. I've been presented with situations before that I had been presented with when I was younger, and I know what path to take now. I know how to react now. I know what I can do to give me a different result. I know more of who I am now and what I want from life because of my experiences in the past, because of who I was. I spent way too many years of my life berating myself and hating the younger versions of myself, but I would not be who I am now without her. And I feel like many of us do that, and we don't show enough grace to our past selves. And now that I'm returning to therapy, I'm realizing all the ways that I hurt myself just by hating myself. As somebody who formerly did not want to be alive, but now does, I think what a privilege it is to grow older. I wonder who 35-year-old me will be, who 60, 70, 80-year-old me, God willing I live that long, will be because of who I am now and because of who I grow into. Because without who I am now, those versions of me will not exist. I have a tattoo on my wrist that says "All is well" in my mother's handwriting, which is from a Bollywood movie called Three Idiots. And I think it's such a poignant film because it deals with so many heavy topics. But in the movie, Amir Khan's character says something like, the heart is a coward, right? And the best thing to do is keep your heart a fool and to place your hand on your heart and to say, all is well. That's not going to change anything. It's not going to solve the problem, but it will give us the courage to face the problem. There's another iconic scene in the movie where one of the characters says that life is a race, right? That life is a race and to watch out because people around you will get ahead of you and you'll be left behind. And I feel like we often get caught up in this race, in being the best, in the prestige, in going to the best school and making the most money and impressing people and society. And we look at people around us like they're competition and we forget to just be, to just exist. What if our purpose in life is to just exist? What if we don't have to run? We don't have to do all of these things. There is so much more to life than just running and running and running and running. We spend our lives eroding ourselves in this pursuit of being the best or making sure that we don't get left behind. And we all don't need these cookie cutter lives because each person is different. It's unrealistic to say that by this age you have to have made XYZ amount of money or have to have achieved this thing. I think it's also this pressure that makes so many of us scared to even do anything, right? It makes so many of us scared to pursue our dreams. We think about what other people will say. Oh, will people judge me? Will people laugh at me? What will people think? Or what if I do it and I fail? What if I don't succeed? It's so scary to pursue our dreams because you think, what if I fail? What if we pursue our dreams and it's not what we thought it would be? What if we never amount to anything that we thought we would be? So it's easier to just not act at all. Because if you don't do anything, you can't fail. But that's not true. Because not acting, not doing anything, not trying is failing. You're letting life pass you by. When you let life pass you by, one day you wake up and you look back and you think, why didn't I just do anything? Why was I so scared? You know, even with this podcast, I think to myself, I was so scared to even start it, right? I had the idea for this in 2016 and I look back and I'm like, why didn't I start it then? Why was I so scared? And I think back to things that I am so passionate about and have wanted to pursue, but I haven't. I've just let it be a dream because I have this insecurity in me that even if I try, I won't achieve it. But I won't know unless I try. And I hated when people would say that to me. When people would say, you won't know unless you try. But it's true. You won't know. It's the same thing with rejection sensitivity, something I have, something that I've been working on in therapy. I won't know until I ask, right? I can assume somebody will say no. I can assume I'll be rejected. But there have been times where I've put myself in the position to be rejected and I haven't been, where things have worked out, where things have worked out even better than I could have ever dreamed of because I dared to ask, because I dared to try. When you dare to try, you live. Do not let life pass you by. Do it scared, do it messy, fumble your way through life, but do it anyway, because life is worth living. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel lost. You have more reason to be lost than not. But if you're lost, it means that you're going somewhere, right? Because you're moving, you're not stagnant, you're on this adventure. And that's okay. It's okay. Society constantly tells us that if you're lost, you're a failure. If you don't do all of these things, you're a failure. But there is so much to be said about just existing. As we approach the holidays, a lot of us feel the sense of dread. It's easy to feel and to give in to that loneliness. It's easy to feel like nobody understands the way that you feel, that you're by yourself. When you feel lost in life, it's very easy to feel lonely, and it's very easy to spiral. You start at something like, wow, I'm such a failure, I'm such a loser. And it very quickly delves into, wow, everyone hates me, no one will ever love me. What is the point in living? It took me a long time to get to where I am, to wanting to live. And it took a lot of work, and it's not easy. This can sound like a lot of preaching or posturing, and I get it. But I can only say all of these things because I've been here, because I know what it's like to be in such a dark and lonely place that you think that there is nothing left for you. But that's where we all make the mistake, because there always is something left for us. I've had people ask me, "Oh, what kept you here? What is there for me? How do I get to where you are? How do I get to wanting to live?" Right? When you no longer want to live, when you feel like you're hopeless and you're stuck, it's hard to see, it's hard to even imagine that you would ever feel any other way. And the only thing that I can say, the thing that worked the most for me, was staying for one more day. So stay for one more day. Stay because you want to eat that cookie. Stay because you want to go to that concert, or you want to celebrate your friend's birthday. Stay out of spite, stay out of love, but just stay for one more day. And each day that you stay, you keep staying for one more day, for one more day, for one more day. And you look back and you see that all of these days that you stayed, all of these little joys, these little steps that you took, they become your lifeboat. They become the things that keep you alive. So stay. There's so much life to be lived. And the pain doesn't go away. The pain, the grief, the deep sadness, it doesn't go away. And I'm not going to pretend like it does. But eventually our lives grow bigger than our grief. And there is a life to be lived, and we eventually become okay with that, and we make peace with that, because there's one more thing keeping us here. I have worked so hard for me to get here, right? I thought life would be something else. I thought that by 28, I'd be engaged or married. I thought that I would be working this big time job, that I would have so much going for me. And despite not having those things, despite the grief of the life that I thought I would have lived, I'm still here. And it's hard when your whole life you have dealt with ideation, right? Or even attempting to take your life. That itch doesn't go away. It will come back, but it will grow less frequent. You will gain a sense of self. You'll realize that there are people who love you, and that is enough to sustain you sometimes. Sometimes it isn't. But it is enough of a reason to stay. It's hard for me. I don't want to sound like, I'm preaching, or I'm trying to tell people like, yeah, life gets better. It'll be okay. You're fine. It'll be peachy. It'll be fine. Everything will be great. But that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that eventually the pain does get a little less. and that we have a life to live, because there is more to life. I've worked really hard to get to where I am now, and I've created a very beautiful life for myself. I have an incredible network of friends. I have an amazing support system with them. I have my mother. I have my nieces and nephews who look up to me. And for me personally, I realized that that was enough to make me stay. I'm not going to become a story for them. Like, oh, she worked so hard. But eventually she lost the battle, right? I'm not going to become another story. So I've chosen to stay despite feeling lost. I may not know who I'm becoming or where I'm going, but I think the journey is worth it enough to see it through. And I think that I want to live, and I hope that those who are watching this, which is probably like 2 people, that you also find a reason to stay. That was a very heavy episode. Thank you for listening anyway. Oh my God, I keep knocking into the mic. Thank you for listening anyway, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you. This was a wild ride of an episode. I almost fainted like twice. I cried like twice. We had somebody interrupt us. Amazing. But that's the journey. That's the journey.